And I know I could tell you anything. You won't judge, you just listen then. 'Cause you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. 'Cause my darling, you and I could take over the world, one step at a time, just you and I. And you're the only one who brings light just like the sun, one step at a time, just you and I.
Hey everybody, happy Tuesday. Welcome back to Morning Coffee with Rick Alexander. Intro music is always provided by Brittany Taylor. She is Barbell Brittany on Instagram, and I am at Rick Alexander _ and at Lionheart Radio. If you guys are digging the show, as always, please share it with a friend. Give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. That helps us to grow the show. And of course, we want to get the message in front of as many people as possible. All right, today I want to sort of tie in a lot of topics I've talked about. Sometimes on here, what I do is I look for an angle that maybe has previously not been explored, as you've probably figured out if you've gone back and listened to all of the episodes. So I try to frame something that we go through in our everyday life, but I try to frame it in a way that draws light to a different angle so that you might find a different way through it. Today I want to talk about specifically facing adversity, which is pretty fitting because tomorrow I'm taking off on a 247-mile run in body armor. But I want to talk about it in a way that makes you want to look for it. And of course, I wrote an entire book about this concept called Burn Your Couch, and there's other books about it. Antifragile is a good one by Nassim Taleb. And so the thing that he talks about in Antifragile, and the thing that I talk about in Burn Your Couch, is this idea that humans, we need adversity in order to succeed, essentially because it's been baked into our DNA through evolution. Now, one of the things is we talk about this idea that humans really need this because we had to kind of kick and claw our way through the food chain. But it's not just that we were always fighting for our spot. It's that fighting for our spot is what actually propelled us to the next level. And in your life, it's what actually is going to propel you to the next level. See, humans are different than almost everything else out there, and the fact that humans, when they go through adverse situations, when they take a fall, they actually have the ability to come back stronger. Now, I've talked about in the past, you coming back stronger is actually only dependent on your ability to learn from what's happening when you are in said situation. But think about it like a cup. When you drop a cup, one of two things happens. The cup either breaks or the cup stays intact. Humans have a different reaction. When humans fall, we either break, we either stay intact, or we come back stronger. A cup doesn't get stronger when you drop it, only we do that. And I've talked about the idea in the past that a lot of people try to regulate the difficulties out of their own lives. We take lukewarm showers, we keep the temperature in our house at a certain temperature. We do all of these sort of things, as I've talked about in the past, to regulate the moments out of our lives. And so what I want to do today is encourage you to kind of inventory all of the things that you do in your life and think about where you can build adversity into it or build situations into it that will create adversity. Because one of the things that happens in life is when you go through hard times, you can never go back and get stronger. You can never go back and get more training or get more ready to deal with the thing that you are dealing with. All you will ever have is what you have prepared for leading up until this moment right now. And you have no idea what the next moment might hold. And so while you have the ability to build adversity and build difficult times into your life, maybe you should consider doing that. I think that you should look at everything that you do in life through that lens. Where can I smartly build more adversity in where it's a controlled environment? One of the things I've talked about is I always thought going through military training was really stupid. I remember the instructors yelling at me, and I remember it just feeling like a game that I had to get through. Then on deployment and a couple times in my actual life when things went really, really wrong, the first feeling that I had was, holy shit, I'm prepared for this. And the reason I talk about that is because at the moment when I was going through this training, luckily the military forces you through it, but I never had the wherewithal to force myself through it. And then upon that revelation, now I'm able to go back and look at different aspects of my life and build different adversity situations into it. And so sometimes it's applicable to think about a situation and think about how hard it might be, and instead of trying to regulate the harshness out of it, actually just try to deal with it and be okay with it being as is. And that's the whole message behind the Stoics, sort of, Ryan Holiday's book, The Obstacle is the Way, that was the message behind it. It's like these things are going to pop up in our lives that we can't necessarily change. And so the best thing that we can do is actually to just sort of figure out how to deal with and accept adversity for what it is. And so sometimes maybe it can be something as simple as the shower's not heating up, and so you just decide to get into it cold. Right? And as you do, you try to work on your breathing and control your emotional state so that you can just accept it for what it is. Now, that's a really menial thing, but it's this idea that being anti-fragile is a thing that you can actually build up. And there's something happening with the world where we are essentially regulating all of these difficulties out of life, and we're sort of bubble wrapping all of the hard edges in life. And, something we used to do is we used to take kids and we would prepare them for the world. And somewhere around the late 90s, what we started trying to do was to prepare the world for the kid. And that's a really hard thing to do. And this could get political because people start talking about safe spaces and all these different things. But the reality is that when you get out in life, I don't mean this as a political statement. I mean this as hey, if you're going to go through life, which you are because you're here now and you don't have a choice, you might as well prepare yourself and the people around you to do the best that you can, because as everybody knows, as I talk about all the time, adverse situations are going to pop up and there's nothing that we can do about them. We're never going to actually be able to prepare the world for the kids. So we need to start preparing the kids for the world. And you need to start preparing yourself for the world, because there will come a time where you find yourself in that chaotic, adverse situation. And so knowing how you're going to handle that before you even go into it is a muscle that you can actually build up through very small, common practices. And I would encourage you to do that. And look, the point of adverse situations, of bad things happening in life, is literally so that we can learn and become better. The point is not to fall and not break. A lot of times when we go through hard things, we close off to those things, right? So we start a business and it doesn't work out, and so then we completely close ourselves off to starting a business, or same thing with relationships, or same thing with anything that you might have to be vulnerable in, where you put yourself out there. But it's okay when things don't work out. That's actually part of this whole experience. And I know I talk about that all the time, but just remember, in your life when things are going wrong, the point is not to not break. The point is, even if you do break, to figure out how to collect your pieces and to come back stronger, so that the next time you fall, you're ready for it. And I think that is the essence behind being anti-fragile. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow on Morning Coffee.
All right. Yeah.